best road you'll ever hold. Well, the pioneers covered up the wagon trains with a canvas made of hemp. And Washington and Jefferson grew it on their farms and said to make the most of it. The first stars and stripes were sewn on hemp, the first Constitution too. Teach around the world for food, fiber, oil, medicine, and fuel. But if we press its seeds, we won't have no need for any other oil. We can make paints and inks, we'll run our car, we'll go back next season, it'll fix the soil. The most nutritious seed we can put in our mouth with omega-6 and 3. We can feed the world with the tree of life and live sustainably. But if we cut down all the trees, we won't have nowhere to breathe. Grow fields of hemp instead. We can make our paper, build a house from it. It's the goddess plant growing wild and free, living the way that we ought to be. Gonna leave my children a better world than my ancestors left me. Whoa, whoa. La, 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 la. Whoa. Well, the flowers of the female hemp plant make the best medicines on earth. Helps cancer and AIDS patients eat their food. Helps those with depression overcome the blues. Glaucoma, epilepsy, nausea, insomnia, stress, neurosis, psychosis, pain, PMS. All the studies have been done and all the doctors agree that they can't make money off this plant, you see, because it's free. It grows from the seed, wild and free, like we ought to be. You know, the future is growing down our own backyards. But if we cut down all the trees, we won't have nowhere to breathe. We grow fields of hemp instead. Make our paper, build a house from it. It's a goddess plant growing wild and free, living the way that we ought to be. Gonna leave my children a better world than my ancestors left me. La 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 la.
Well, welcome everybody to the 6th in our series of nature, climate and soil-friendly food production and land use. I appreciate you coming tonight. I hear there's a pretty big football match on tonight, so thanks for joining us. That song was Tree of Life by the Human Revolution, and if you listen to that, you probably already learned quite a bit about our topic tonight, which is hemp. According to Hemp Frontiers, which is a really informative website, from the beginning of human existence up until the 1930s, hemp was the most important crop grown. It was our mainstay for food, fuel, clothing, and shelter. Up until the 1800s, 80% of all textiles, 75% of all paper, and 90% of all sails and ropes were made of hemp. In fact, when King Henry VIII reigned and his daughter Elizabeth I, all landowners were ordered to grow hemp, otherwise they were fined. That was because he was trying to get as much rope as he could to build his navy to defeat the French. 1 acre of hemp produces as much cellulose fiber pulp as 4 acres of trees and sequesters 4 times as much CO2 as trees in its 3 to 4 month growing cycle. It's said to be the only truly carbon neutral plant. Hemp is also a superfood. The seed contains almost as much protein as soy, that's 36% protein, and it's the only food source to hold the 8 essential amino acids in perfect balance with the 4 essential fatty acids. So what on earth, you might ask, happened to hemp? Well, in the 1930s in the US, the oil and timber barons, along with companies invested in new oil-based synthetic textiles like polyester, conspired to demonize industrial hemp. They knew that Ford had built a car out of hemp and that he was making cheap bioethanol fuel. They exaggerated the connection of hemp to its relative marijuana, and the myth that marijuana is the most violence-producing drug known to man. I can't help thinking how the world might have been different if we'd stuck with hemp for fuel and for paper instead of mining and drilling oil and tearing up our forests. It's quite tragic when you think about it. Here in Scotland, hemp has been grown since 1000 AD. There's even records of it being grown on the Isle of Lewis. And now enterprising Scots are bringing hemp back. So tonight we have John and Alison Easson. They are farmers from Angus, and they're going to talk about growing hemp and marketing hemp in Scotland. So before I introduce them, just a quick reminder, the chat function will be off for the duration of the webinar. If you have questions, and I hope you have loads, please put them in the Q&A and we'll pose the questions to John and Alison at the end of their talk. So please welcome John and Alison Easson.
Would you like us to come onto the video?
Yeah, why don't we try that to begin with, guys, and we'll see how your Wi-Fi goes. John and Alison have been having a bit of a slow Wi-Fi tonight, probably due to all the neighbours watching the football match. So we'll see how we get on.
Yeah.
And well, I'll just let you share your screen, guys. You should be able to do that now.
Okay, so thank you all.
Share the screen as well.
Here we go. Right. All of our information is it's in a presentation. We just thought it would be easier for you to look at that. And then if we have video internet problems, we can come off video and you can just look at this. So like I said earlier, thank you very much for logging in tonight. We are no hemp experts at all. We are just ordinary farmers trying something new, trying a bit of diversification, and I've got into it that much lately that I just felt like starting a new business, because that's what you do. So we've got a few slides here. I think I'm going to leave this one to John, as he's the farmer.
Yeah, so we're a very traditional Scottish family farm. We have suckler cows, spring barley, grass silage. We let fields out for potatoes and oilseed rape and peas. So a couple of years ago, we were both away on a skiing trip with Ali's previous employer, and one of the guys on the trip, suggested growing hemp. Now, something I'd never really thought of before, but it planted a seed in both of our heads, and we both thought, why not? So the first year, 2021, we grew 10 acres. So that was the initial trial size that were wanting us all to grow. It was approximately 10 acres each. So there was 10 farmers, and we all grew approximately 10 acres. The growing of it wasn't really the issue. The first problems that we had to overcome was getting a license. I didn't realise how hard it was going to be, but we had to apply to the Home Office in London to get a drugs and firearms licence. I also had to get a police check done on myself and fill in numerous forms to make sure that I was a sounding, genuine farmer to actually grow the stuff. We'll have to grow it in fields away from houses, roads, pretty remote fields actually, and we have to put the field number into our application, and they actually check to see that we are telling the truth. And also the license costs £700 for 3 years. So yeah, there was a lot of initial hassle to try and actually get the license, but now we've got the license. It's valid for this coming year, obviously, and for next year.
And sorry, can I just put in there, this slide was actually showing just the hemp group, wasn't it? We felt real benefit from being part of a group for going through this process, which was a little bit daunting and all very new, and we were all new together. So we were kind of, it was quite good to go through the licensing, buy seed, and be a group of 10. Also, because we're a group, we're a little bit more recognised than just individual farmers, because the Rowett Institute, which is part of Aberdeen Uni, they've got quite a lot of funding from Scottish Government looking at all the health and environmental benefits. So because we are part of a group, they're now involved and they're analysing our crops, and they're doing like a 3-year analysis of what we've grown. Some farmers, they've not had no yield at all. Some farmers have done well. So it's just sort of looking to see what's working, what's not working, and it's nice to have their backing. So this was a photo of the hemp group, the hemp farm, well, most of the hemp farmers at Norbite for the first pressing of our crop. And this was the logo that we designed between us. We did get a little bit of artistic help, but we chose this logo because of the Scottish colours, the blue and the white. The green resembles the crop, the hemp. The arrow coming down below the CO2, hopefully people see that and think it's because it sucks out all this carbon out of the atmosphere. And that was what we all sort of went for out of the choices.
So the next slide we've got, it's basically a quick run through realities of growing hemp. Originally, the field was going to be sown in spring barley, and then very last minute we got our license applied, so we decided that we just change it into hemp. So it was ploughed just as normal. We have no fancy equipment. The drill that we sow the hemp with was the same drill that we sow the spring barley with. It got very little fertilizer. Actually, because the first year we weren't sure what fertilizer to give it, I actually just gave it the same fertilizer rate that my spring barley was going to be getting. So it got approximately 100 units of nitrogen, 60 units of P, and 100 units of K per hectare. And the seed, the actual hemp seed, was sown at about 30 kilos per hectare. So actually, it's a very expensive seed. It comes in at approximately £240 a hectare. So once we'd sown it, applied the fertilizer, we basically closed the gate, and that was it until harvest. There's nothing, because it's such a new crop, there's no chemicals are licensed to apply on it. So it got no weed killer, no insecticides, it got nothing, absolutely nothing from the day it was sown until it was harvested. It's not organic, obviously, but it's very near it. So that was it. So during the growing season, we noticed the very first year that we grew it, we weren't sure what was happening. But come sort of early July, we could see that there was two very different sort of plants in the field. And after a bit of sort of investigation, we found out it was actually male hemp plants and female hemp plants. So the males obviously then pollinated the females, and once they'd pollinated them, they actually started to die back, and it was the females that then produced the seed and carry on until harvest. Now there's a picture of me there with a measuring tape, so it got to approximately 4.5 to 5 foot tall on average. The odd bit was up to 6 foot tall, but it was pretty dense. It smothered out all the weeds, and it just grew really, really well. It just grew like a weed, obviously. So yeah, so that was it really. There was nothing applied to it. We just had to pray for good weather. We'd never really, well, we hadn't harvested it before. We didn't know what to expect. But it doesn't like the cold, so we couldn't sow it until we'd got rid of all the frosts. And where we are, that's, well, occasionally get a late frost in April, so we left it until May to sow, and it takes 120 days to mature and to get to harvest. So that meant we were combining sort of middle of September.
It didn't like any compaction either, does it?
No, we did notice any sort of wheeling marks after rolling. They were just a little bit slow to come through. So that was it really. We did notice a little bit of disease just 3 to 4 weeks before harvest. We noticed that there was a sort of brown rot fungus started appearing in some of the heads of some of the plants. We're still not quite sure 100% what it is, but we think it's some sort of sclerotinia type of fungus. But as I said earlier, there's nothing approved chemical wise, so we just had to sit and watch it. And that was one of the reasons that we actually took the crop early for harvest, was that we felt that the sclerotinia, or this brown rot, was taking yield away. So we then decided we'd just combine it, to try and prevent any yield loss. It was just a normal combine, just a combine that we combine everything else with. The seed grows approximately halfway up the stalk of the plant, if you want to call it. So we set the combine at possibly 2 to 2.5 feet up to leave the stalks and actually just take the seed head part. The lesser amount of volume going through the combine, the better, because it's obviously very, as Rebecca said, it was used for rope, so it's very stringy, and we were just slightly concerned it may end up just tying itself into a great big knot in the middle of the combine. So we just put through the bare minimum through the actual combine. Once we'd combined it, the seed, it spoils very, very quickly. We're not quite sure what the moisture was. We think it was around 20 to 25% moisture. So the minute that it was out of the combine tank, it was into the trailer and then straight into the grain dryer. We just had to dry it straight away. It was quite sticky. It didn't run very freely. It's not as sort of free a seed as barley, but the type of dryer I've got coped with it. So we dried it down to 8%, 7-8% for storing, and that'll keep it at a decent sort of what's the word I'm looking for, storage for however long. Once we've got it combined, we eventually managed to find a place that would actually press it, and that was the Norvite factory up in Aberdeenshire. So we then grouped all the seed together, and it was all sent up to pressed.
It did take us quite a while, though, didn't it, to get to that stage?
Yeah,
I think, like all us farmers, we all had varying yields, and we're then thinking, well, what we're going to do with it, how we're going to clean it, and what's our end market, because this was a bit of a test to see if we could grow it, and then what. So we're still trying to find that end market, and we're trying to create, I suppose, a new industry, or renew the industry from years ago. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are with that pressing. There's a few pictures here from Norvite, isn't there?
yeah. So we ended up with approximately 5 tons from our 10 acres. You can see there that the slide on the left, that's the bags just getting emptied into hopper. It was then augered up. The slide on the right, the green thing is the press. So it just squeezed the seeds to press all the oil out. The oil was then put into an IBC, and the remainder, which we're sort of calling cake, was then bagged up. And we're at the moment, we don't have a human end product for it. So at the moment, as I said earlier, we're livestock farmers, so it's very high in protein. So I'm now feeding the cake back to my cattle to increase protein levels in their diet. But at the moment, that's the only market that we've got. But in the future, we would like to try, and there is a way to mill the hemp, mill the cake and turn it into it's protein.
Well, it's flour. It's
yeah.
a protein flour.
Yeah, protein flour. Yeah.
Or you can then take it a stage further and remove the protein, so you've got like more of a pure protein. So we are looking at other options, but it's just trying to deal with the now. So I'm sure anybody that's read anything about hemp, it's the benefits are endless. It just does so many things. It's a wonder plant. It's a superfood. It does everything, and it's pretty crazy, really, to think that they banned it all them years ago. So once we started researching as a group, we're all given our jobs to do and a bit of research to find out what we're going to do with it. I soon got quite hooked on how amazing this plant was, and also the health benefits. So it ticks so many boxes, and I think that's mainly because it's predominantly omega-3, 6 and 9, and 3, 6 and 9 does a lot of things for your health, so it does tick a lot of boxes. But if you think that you can take 1 tablespoon of something a day, that's not that bad to taste at all, and it's gonna reduce the risk of a heart attack or a stroke, help your joints, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do it? Unless you're eating fish and chips and a really fatty diet, then it kind of has to help. So that's kind of my slant on it. I'm looking at the health side of things, because the type of hemp that we grow is for seed, so we don't really have enough stock to grow for fiber. If we wanted to grow for fiber, then we'd have to grow a specific variety, which would grow a lot taller, and it would be dealt with at harvest time in a completely different way. So I've got here on the environmental benefits, the hempcrete. There's a new plant called Indonesia in Jedburgh at the borders, and it's creating a green insulation for housing, and hempcrete blocks, and a whole heap of other things. So yeah, it's a pretty amazing plant. So I thought last spring I was I thought, right, I'm giving up my job, I'm starting this business, I'm all in, this is it. It's all or nothing. So this is my business name, it's Hemp It Up. I officially started trading on July the 22nd at my friend's farm shop just up the road. So this picture on the left here is me and my friend Claire. So I had some plants at the stall. We've got some hempcrete logs, which I get from the Yorkshire hemp guy, and that's all bits out of his plant that are made into briquettes. We have the oil, and I've also gone into a bit of a project with the Scottish Agricultural College, looking at making dips and drizzles just to add flavour to widen the audience. So it's very exciting. It's a lot of work because there's only one of me. So yeah, I wear a lot of hats in a day, but and I would say probably what I'm finding is when I go to markets, I get a huge mixture of reactions. Some people ask bizarre questions, am I going to get high? And they do think that, I'm growing something illegal. So I have a leaflet beside the bottles so that I can give some information away with people when they buy a bottle of oil, and they can take it home and read all these amazing facts. Where I'm stuck with as a business right now is I need to figure out how to make large quantities of the dips and drizzles. So I'm stuck there. I need a bit of product development. So that's something for the new year. We are waiting on a mill coming so that we can start to process the press cake into flour and protein. And then we've got another few lines to get out there. So I suppose the reason why we're doing this talk tonight is to raise a bit of public awareness and just get some publicity, really, get people talking about it so that they can appreciate the health benefits. They know how to use it, which is basically just like olive oil, but you just wouldn't fry it to a really hot temperature because it would burn. It's got a low smoke point. So you would just use it like olive oil and try and get a tablespoon a day into your diet. And that's what the Rower Institute have been telling us. So they drip feed us all these great facts, which is wonderful because it means that these facts have come from them. It's not just something that's plucked off the internet that might not be true. So we're definitely lacking in publicity, and that's what we're working on. So just look out for Hemp It Up and bottles in your shops, and if you do see any, please buy some. And another way of having it is put a bit of balsamic vinegar in it, dip some lovely bread into it, and that's a far healthier option than eating a packet of crisps before tea's ready. So I give that to you, don't I, quite often when you come in from work and it's like, okay, all right. So I just keep saying, I'm making you healthy. I'm keeping you alive. So I have got some social media addresses here. I've got a Facebook page. So it's Hemp It Up UK. Instagram is Hemp It Up _. I have a web page, which is nearly ready. I'm working on it at the moment, and then people will be able to buy online, hopefully from January. And if anybody does want to order anything from me or get in touch and ask anything about it, then I've got my email address there. It's alison@hempitup.co.uk. So that is basically where we're at. We're just we've grown two successful crops, and I've started a business, and I'm just trying to get to as many markets and speak to as many people as possible, telling them about the health benefits and why they should have it in their diet. So if anybody's got any questions, we'd be delighted to try if we can.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, John and Alison. That was great. Amazing what you guys are doing. Just fantastic. And I think we do have a couple of questions in the Q&A, don't we, Sam? You want to?
Yeah, we do.
See what we got there?
Yeah, we've got a question from Joe who asks, did you have to get a license for selling as a medicinal product like we do in England, or are you marketing as a food product only?
Yeah, so it's just purely health and well-being. There's no medicinal side to this. It's not CBD. So all we're doing is pressing the seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And our license only allows us to use the seeds and the stalk. I had to sign a declaration to say that we would destroy, chop, whatever the word is, all the leaves and the flowers. So I don't know if you want to go. There was a slide shown earlier. The combine, we had to chop all the residue out the back of the combine because that's what my license said that I had to do. You're not actually seeing it, but normally behind the combine you see all the rows of straw coming out the back of the combine. Well, we had to destroy it all.
In that middle photo, you can see just to it.
So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. And with the destroyed material, do you just leave it in the field, or do you do anything else with it?
Yeah. We just left it in the field. We're allowed to use the stalk. So there were some farmers in the group that did bale the remains, but we had, we all had to destroy the leaves and the flower. So we could have kept the stock and then sent it down to, Ali had mentioned earlier, this Indie Nature factory down in the Borders, and they could have used it for you know, for insulation or building products. But we felt it was just too much hassle.
Yeah, and it has to be in square bales. So to get through the decortication plant, they won't accept round bales, and we would have had to get a contractor in to come and do big square bales, and the remaining stocks were quite short, so that's how we just didn't bother. But you did notice a huge difference, didn't you, in the following crop?
That's one point I forgot to say, that in 2021, the field that we grew the hemp in, 2022, this year, we actually grew spring barley in it, and it yielded the best yield out of all our fields, which was just amazing, because it was actually one of my poorest fields that had grown the hemp crop in 2021. It was stony, it was wet, it was just a poor field. But the yield that we got off in 2022 was the best that we've ever had. So there is definitely a big residual carryover of nutrients and nutrition for the following on crop.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers that question anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. Our next question is from Sandy, who says, great talk. It blew my mind you had to have a drugs and firearms license. Madness. What are your thoughts around changing public perceptions around hemp in general, given the incorrect concepts? No doubt much which is due to the incorrect info spread all those years ago.
I suppose it is just keeping things simple, keeping it basic, trying to explain to people what's CBD, what's not, what we're doing, and this leaflet that I give out to everybody that buys from me, or whether they're just interested and they want to take one, it has all these questions and answers, and it is just keeping it quite simple, and some bullets of all the health benefits. So it is just the basics.
It was explained to me that the finola, the seed that we have to grow, that we're licensed to grow, it has to have a THC level of below 0.02. Now, the way that was explained to me in sort of simple terms was that you would have needed to smoke a joint the size of a telegraph pole of hemp leaves to get the same high that you would have done with the other stuff. So it has minimal to no psychoactive ingredients in it. But again, that's part of our license, is we have to grow a variety that is 0.2 or less.
It's got to be certified seed, isn't it?
And
only from a specific range of varieties.
Yeah, and our seed, it had to come in from Germany. So which is all another part of being part of the group, is that rather than little old John and Ali from Angus importing their little few bags of seed from Germany, we were able to all group together and then bulk buy to get a better deal anyway.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Our next question is from Monica. I am from Switzerland, and we already have about 15 years ago, buyed hemp as an isolation. Not too sure. But basically, we have hemp shops in Switzerland since the 1990s. Do you not have such things in Scotland or the UK?
So I think, as far as I'm aware, in this country, there is mainly CBD shops, and there's becoming more and more CBD products, CBD drinks, CBD everything. But there's not a lot of that going on really in Scotland. There's a few more, but I think, yeah, in England, we've got a few manufacturers down near Devon. I think Good Hemp, they're turning out a lot of food products and health products.
But as for shops, no,
No.
I can't even think. No, I can't think of any shop.
Well, you don't go to the shops anyway,
Okay,
so you would never see a shop. So.
So our next question is from Phil, who asks, were the rest of the group also successful at growing hemp? Will they continue in future years?
Well, there was 10, 11 of us sort of in the 2 years. One guy this year, his was a disaster. We're not quite sure what happened to his, so he ended up ploughing it in a few months after he'd sown it. Others have had issues with the crop not, what would you say, growing fast enough, and the weeds competing with the crop and actually smothering the crop out. So there's been a few, not disasters, but it's certainly not been easy to grow for all of us.
It's been very, very mixed, hasn't it? The success stories and the tragedies, but
we're all within. The furthest north is at Peterhead, so we're all within. What's that? I'm going to say 70 to 80 miles of each other on the east coast of Scotland. Yeah, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason why some have been successes and others have been a disaster, but everybody is sticking with it. I think everybody's going to go for their third season with their license. There's actually only two of the group. There's ourselves and another farmer who has a farm shop. He's invested heavily. He's bought his own press, bottling plant, and he's now selling his hemp through his farm shop. So there's two of us at the moment. You can buy oil from two of the group as we speak now. The other 8 really weren't quite as
well, they were all busy just doing other farming. You know, they had lots of other different enterprises, tourism and loads of other things. So it comes down to time as well. One of the farmers is trialing hemp fibre, and so it's still retting at the moment. So that is not really got a conclusion to how that's gone at the moment. And I think the rest of the group at the moment are just trying to find an end market.
I think honestly they're all a little disillusioned with it to a certain extent, because we've grown it, but there still isn't a great appetite out there for hemp. You know, there's just not enough public awareness. So, you know, there's not the huge demand that, I'm not saying that we were hoping for, but that we'd like. So they're trying to now just basically get rid of the 2021 harvest and hopefully try and just push on with 2022's crop and just see if there's any more public awareness out there and just more demand for it.
So if you know of anybody that wants to buy tons of hemp seed, point them in our direction and we can sell them some.
I'll be getting as well. The other question from Marianne, would it be possible in future to save or supply the leaves to CBD product manufacturers? As a user of CBD gel for joint pain relief, it seems a shame not to utilise the leaves, although it's great to hear about the leaves improving in soil for your next crop to grow.
Well, I suppose that comes down to the license. We would be in breach if we started doing anything with the leaves, because it says quite clearly that we're not allowed to do it. And I think we'd be a bit daft to try and do something with the leaves when it clearly says that we're not meant to, after investing in equipment. So, you know, we need to get granted another license. So,
but it does seem crazy that, you know, we'll have to destroy them. You know, they just, I don't know why, but yeah, as Alice said, it's up to government rules and regulations, so it needs changing from the top.
Kyle from Forfa, Kyle Esplin, he's to do with Scottish Hemp Association, and he's always trying to, he's in Parliament and he's always trying to, you know, get somewhere with just getting people to listen to, you know, and change this rule that we can't do anything with the leaves. So he's kind of like the CBD expert, really. So a lot of people go to him with the questions. But yeah, he's trying to do as much as he can for the industry, but it's just slow.
Yeah. Just following off the back of that as well, on Marianne's question, they ask, is it possible to look at alternative license arrangements?
Oh, well,
I don't know. We only went for the license we've got. And I have to admit, it was a minefield trying to apply for the right license. So we didn't really look at what other licenses were out there.
Well, we would have to do a bit more research and see what is, what opportunities is there.
Because it's my understanding, looking at the website, that extracting CBD from the plant is illegal in the UK. It's still illegal. So that's why you have to destroy the leaves and the flowers, and all CBD oil, to the best of my knowledge, is imported because it's illegal to extract it over here. So, which is crazy, really, isn't it? Because we're talking about industrial hemp here, We're talking about, like John said, hemp that has 0.2% or less THC in it. So it's something quite different from what we know as marijuana. Yet still, it's over-regulated, and it makes no sense that that's illegal to extract CBD. So right, I'm not sure, like you were saying, you have to do more research on whether some people are licensed to grow what we know as medical marijuana in this country. I know it now is prescribed legally, isn't it, for certain conditions, I think, like epilepsy or stuff like this, but I'm not too sure. I don't know if you are, or whether people are growing medical marijuana and it's a different license, but I can imagine that would be an even worse minefield than what you guys went through to grow the industrial hemp.
Yeah, I mean, when we apply for the license, we get granted the license for 3 growing cycles. So we've just done year 2. So we've not really gone back to licensing, have we? We've not, because we've ticked that box, and now we're trying to grow it and create a market.
Yeah, but every year I still have to go back to the Home Office to tell them where I'm growing it. And I know there was one farmer who just unfortunately happens to be right on the side of the main Dundee to Aberdeen road, and his field that he chose, although not visible from the dual carriageway, it was right next to the dual carriageway, and he was refused his license because it was next to a main road, even though you couldn't see it from the main road. So they obviously do check, that whether they look on aerial photographs. I don't know how they do, but they certainly do check to make sure that we are telling the truth and saying, we are putting them in the correct fields.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So for 3 years, so, at the end of 3 years, you might be able to figure out if you're turning a profit from this, because the seed, like you said, John, the seed is pretty expensive, isn't it? And then you look at your yield and decide whether it's going to be profitable, depending on how Alison's business takes off as well, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we all grew 10 acres, and we knew we were never going to make a fortune, and hopefully not lose a fortune, but it was a big enough area to give it a good go. And like say, it's £700 for 3 years for the license, so we've all sort of committed to grow it for 3 years. But I do feel that a lot of the other growers, possibly once their license is expired, unless there's a big change and far more demand for it, I don't know if some of them will be as keen to apply for their second, 3-year license.
Well, you won't want to keep growing it, would you, if you can't sell it? I mean, that's kind of when I kind of did a very quick business plan and thought, for me to start a business doing this, and I really need to take it right to the end to retail it, and that was how we thought, because it isn't like, it's not an established market out there. There's nobody, hunting you down for your hemp seeds. So it's you've kind of got to search for them. So yeah, it's very much work in progress.
Yeah, I think what you're doing to add value to the crop, adding value by marketing it directly is definitely the way to go for now until we manage to grow the demand, right? And educate people about it. Yeah.
I would say though, when I speak to people at markets and I say, very soon we're going to have gluten-free flour and protein powder. I think there's a lot of people that are leading a vegan diet and leading a gluten-free diet. So, it's ticking a lot of boxes, and with the, we're all trying to become net zero. So it is ticking a lot of boxes environmentally and for health and well-being. So I think it's a slow burn. I am absolutely sure that it's going to come good.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait for that protein powder and flour. That's going to be fantastic. I'm just noticing, this is interesting. Joe put a comment in the Q&A. She said, Big Pharma is a huge lobby against making licensing easier. Plus, I understand that the only person in the UK with license to grow medicinal cannabis in the UK is Philip May, Theresa May's husband. Interesting trivia there. Thanks, Joe. Yeah. Go figure, as they say.
Yeah.
Have we got any other questions, Sam, in the chat there?
Yeah, we've got two other questions. We got a question from Joe who says, if it continues to go well, would you consider moving towards stock-free farming?
In a word, no. I know who I'm talking to here. But no, I'm, like I said right at the very start, we're a very traditional farm. We don't have the best of land. We have a lot of rough area that, in my mind, I can only make sort of money with, or make a living out of, with putting livestock on. I can't crop all my farm. It's not a beautifully flat, square, arable farm with 30-acre fields. We've got a lot of rough ground, permanent grass.
And hilly.
Yeah. And I personally feel that the two things work hand in hand. The crops that we grow, the spring barley that I grow, the barley itself we feed back to the cattle. The straw is used for their bedding in the winter time. In the springtime, when the cattle go out, the dung then gets spread on the fields, which then helps to grow better crops. So my personal opinion is that
for here where we are,
for where we are, yes, and the type of farm I've got, it ticks on the boxes to have, but we're not intensive by any means. We'll have 75 cows, suckler cows. We're fattening all the cattle. It just for us. It works for us. That's all I'm going to say, is it works for us.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We've got a question from Marianne again. Is there a hemp variety that is suitable for both seed oil production and fibre, or is that a daft question?
I think you can get dual purpose varieties that grow a bit taller, and but in fact, some of the group actually are looking at different varieties, higher yielding varieties. Whether that gives you another level of complexity to actually grow it and harvest it is another thing, because I think probably what we struggle with up here is the time, and it's becoming ripe at the end of September, and this September we had some wet weeks, didn't we? And so it's close to it either being a good crop or a very bad crop. So some of the varieties might be late in ripening, so we really need to concentrate on them that are early ripening.
Yeah, and we also felt that to have the dual purpose crop, obviously it's going to be taller. well, with it being a new variety, a new crop to us, and we didn't actually know if we could even harvest it. A tall variety was just going to create more troubles with, you know, choking up combines, and it's my brother that drives the combine, and for brotherly love, it just made things a lot more simpler just to keep things easy. I think we would have fallen out if I'd shown him a 12-foot high crop of hemp that he had to go and combine. So just for simplicity, we chosen Finola, which is purely a seed variety.
Yeah, it's not to say that we might look down that road once we've nailed this crop and we know exactly what we're doing. But
yeah,
at the moment, just stick to what we're doing for now.
Yeah.
Because the possibilities with the fibre are endless too, aren't they? Like we've talked about construction materials and so many uses there. And I know when I visited another member of the hemp group last year, he was going to be retting the fibres and doing the decortication and so on, as well as, I think, harvesting the seed. So I think there's many possibilities there, aren't there, to, you know, try different things.
yeah.
If we speak to Duncan, the other farmer that's growing fibre, once he's actually got his off the field and baled, then we'll have a proper conversation with him and say, how easy was that then? Because it's not to say that we might have a field of seed and then we might have a field of fibre. Rather than a dual crop, we might have one of each. But we need to know that we can actually, you know, harvest it and get it.
Yeah, because that's the non-farmer speaking there. As the farmer here, the seed crop that we've got is now under cover, whereas the fibre crop that we're talking about is still lying out in the fields. And as you know, we all know, we've had a pretty wet October, November time. So to have a crop that's still lying out in the fields at this time of the year when the fields are all wet and soft, yeah, it's
Bit of a gamble.
Yeah, it's a total gamble at the moment anyway.
Yeah, that's a daunting thought, isn't it, with the Scottish weather, you know. Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah. Great. Have we got any other questions there, Sam?
Yeah, no more questions have come in. Well, I did have one question actually. Out of the hemp group you're in, are you the sort of furthest north people that are growing hemp, or do you know anybody who's growing it further north?
No, we're probably the furthest south. There's a few growers based, you know, including us, based out around Forfar. There's a couple at the coast, sort of Arbroath direction, and then there's a few. I think the furthest north is at Peterhead,
Okay.
and then there's a few, I think, in Veruri direction.
Aye.
So I mean, we're all northeast Scotland, but yeah, I would say probably 60, 70 miles between the north and the south most farms.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Great. Oh, well, thank you so much. That's so informative. It's a topic that we don't hear much about. So that's super interesting. Just tell us again, Alison, if anybody's interested in ordering oil or soap from you, or potentially the dressings, just let us see that again. Here we are.
Yeah. So if anybody did want oil, I've got two sizes. I've got a 500 ml, a 250 ml. It's extra virgin cold pressed, and I'm selling them for £7 and £13. We will have flour soon. I've got some dips on the way, and I do have some soap as well. So I've got somebody local that makes soap, and she's making hemp soap for me with my oil. So it's a bit limited at the moment, but we've got lots of plans for the coming year. But if anybody wants to order anything, just drop me an email and I'll do my best to get it to you.
Thank you so much. Are there particular benefits for the skin from using the hemp soap? Is there anything that you know of there, Alison?
Well, I suppose if you were to look online, you'll see that because of its high omega-3, 6 and 9, especially omega-3, it's very, very good for joints and skin, hair and nails, all these things. So
It's good for eczema and stuff as well.
yeah, eczema. He's waving a bar of soap at me. Sorry, I'm gonna. So this is the soap. Okay, he's nudging me like. So that's the soap. But yeah, it is lovely soap. I was using it before we actually had our own hemp oil, and then together oil I asked her to make it with mine. But I use it all the time. I really like it. So
Fantastic. Thanks so very much. I got my order in early this morning to make sure that Alison didn't run out before this workshop. So I'm really looking forward to that. So maybe we'll stop sharing that screen and we'll just put up our last slide here. Thank you everybody for coming today. I know we're in the middle of a big football tournament, so I appreciate you dragging yourself away from the telly. This webinar will be up sometime tomorrow or Thursday at the latest. It will be up at the same link, stockfreefarming.org/beyondthepossible. That will be up by Thursday, so you can watch a recording and share it around. Check back and look at it again if you missed any info. On Thursday, we have Ian Tallhurst is our next speaker on Thursday at 7. He's talking about natural methods of pest control and self-sufficient soil fertility. Ian is a world-renowned expert on stock-free organic growing. He's been doing it for 30 years. There's not much that Ian does not know on that topic. So I hope you'll join us Thursday for that. Next week, on Tuesday, we have our final webinar, which is about forestry, the various programs through Scottish Forestry, and also the whole mystery of the carbon credit market and how to sell carbon credits. If you want to get in touch, if you have any other questions, you can send them to contact@stockfreefarming.org and we'll forward them on to our speakers. Once again, our website is stockfreefarming.org if you want to have a browse and see what we're up to. So big thanks again to John and Alison. They're busy farmers, busy people. We appreciate them taking time out to enlighten us this evening. And we hope you all have a great rest of the evening. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alison. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
thank you.
Bye, folks. Bye-bye.